All right, everybody, thank you for joining us this evening. This presentation is put together regarding associations, and it is a discussion about getting noticed the right way. It's entitled Getting Noticed the Right Way, Skills for Officials to Improve Their Status. This is being presented tonight by Bruce Moore. Bruce Moore is the president of the Tri-City Area Officials Association. He is in his 23rd season of officiating. And along with him this evening is Lee Morgan, supervisor of officials, basketball officials for Tri-Valley, supervisor of officials for the Tri-Valley Conference, has nearly 40 years of officiating high school sports, and is the basketball trainer, a basketball trainer for the Tri-City Area Officials Association. I ask that you keep on mute until you are called upon or have a question, and then you can unmute and then discuss and then mute back, please. This presentation will be recorded, and it will be presented with the rest of our presentations on July 31st. I encourage you to take a look at as many of those as possible. Some that are like this one, geared towards association and general membership, others for recruiting and mentorship coordinators, and then all of our sports specific presentations as well. As I mentioned, those will be released on July 31st. That's the official Officials Officiate Michigan Day. But we always like to have officials join us for these live events. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Bruce.
Thank you. Thanks, Brent. Lee and I certainly appreciate everybody who is attending our presentation today. The Tri-City Area Officials Association is, if you're not familiar.
Start video.
Pardon me?
Okay.
Okay, so you got to put your microphone on mute, please. The Tri-City Area Officials Association is a new organization, a new association in terms of 2 years ago, we merged 4 associations in the mid-Michigan area into one to create one consolidated association, which is obviously, very good from a training perspective, a member perspective in terms of getting the same message during training, and certainly helps us with one consolidated recruiting effort. So that the Tri-City Area Official Association, we're based out of the Saginaw, Bay City, Midland area, and we cover the Thumb and a big part of northern lower Michigan. So it's great to be with you. When we were asked to present Getting Noticed the Right Way, Skills for Officials to Improve Their Status, I think improving this your status can be in a number of different things. Really we look at it as improving, probably from every official's standpoint, improving your status to get assignments that would fall into the category of conference championships, competitive matchups, rivalry games, and then I think potentially, deeper tournament assignments. And so that's the view. We've got 6 or 7 or 8 skills that we're going to talk about, and then I'm going to go through the slide, and then Lee's going to make a comment from the lens of an experienced supervisor of officials, and what he's looking for in his staff. So we'll start out with what we call the givens, and the givens are obviously discipline of a healthy lifestyle. Court presence is important, whether that's court presence, field presence, diamond presence, etc. How we carry ourselves when we officiate, as we all know, is very important. Great mechanics, obviously important. Knowing the rules, critical. And having a positive attitude, both as a member of the association and, and reflecting that to our fellow officials. And so as we go through the skill set, we will often reference back to these, and I want everybody to keep these in mind, because these are the givens, and that's what we'll be looking for with the skills. So getting noticed the right way. The first skill that we'll talk about is diligence. We'll talk about vision. We'll talk about communication, mentorship, how we respond to criticism, our ability to maintain and retain self-control, and talk a little bit about how we put that together with knowledge and wisdom. So if you look at the definition of diligence, diligence, we think, is a learnable skill that requires persistence and really a smart working effort that will ultimately return an investment on the time that you put into officiating. We think diligence is a skill set that needs to be performed in a timely, efficient, and effective manner, and performed with the highest quality of excellence. And we believe that applying diligence to your officiating career will really provide you the opportunity to control more of your destiny. And I think of applying diligence to a skill set in terms of getting noticed, raising your status in association, is really the discipline to get in the rule book, stay in shape, practice your mechanics, work on all the aspects that supervisors look for in officials to move up the ladder. So we think diligence is a skill that is important to raise your level. And Lee, your comment?
Oh, I agree. Everything you mentioned with diligence, you have to prove to the supervisors, the assigners, one, that you're going to put the effort in and that your effort is going to be consistent. Yeah, you're exactly right. You got to build all these tools and they need to be visible to us.
So then we go to the next skill, which we call, which we think is important, is vision. And, and vision is really writing down and communicating your goals. I think that whether it's a young official or an experienced official, having a goal set and an aspiration in your officiating career is important. And it's also important to communicate those goals to your respective supervisors and assigners that you're working for. So I think the first point of vision is really to sort of have a realistic mindset of what your goal is ultimately going to be in officiating. Define that goal, write it down, and then really take the initiative, the diligence to create a plan to get to your ultimate goal. And then, really put in the work to plan for it rather than hope for it. And so we think as a skill set, vision and the ability to put your goals and then transfer those into the reality of your officiating career is a skill set that all officials could put some time into. So Lee, your comment from a signer's perspective?
Well, if you think about setting your goals, make sure that your goals are attainable. Please don't set the bar so high that you get frustrated when you never achieve or attain that goal of wanting to work for a specific supervisor. Set something that you can achieve, work it with your supervisor. If you don't achieve it, ask him why. What can I do? What have I done wrong? It might just be the amount of time and effort you need to put in he's not seeing, or he's just not ready to give you that opportunity yet. So don't get frustrated if your short-term goal might take a little longer than you think. Get a long-term goal, get a short-term goal, and keep at it. You'll get noticed. You'll get used. And
Lee's using he, but we know there's many female signers out there. So, So I don't know if Cindy Linton's on this call, but yeah. So diligence, vision, really tied to having the skill set of writing down your goals and then effectively working towards them. And then the next skill to really, in our mind, raise your level and skill set is to really become a great communicator. And I'm going to open all these up so we can talk about them. But presence, I mean, obviously, communicating in a way that makes others want to listen to you. And I think that is a particular skill set that, you know, we all can work on every single day. Educate, you know, learn to become persuasive in a way that you are positive and motivate others around you. Certainly in all of our officiating careers, you know, listening is, you know, the 2 ears, 1 mouth idea. So listening before speaking is a great skill within the skill set of communication. Patience. I think we all, you know, again, can sometimes be a little quick. And of course, patience and everything we do in seeing the entire play, et cetera, is important. But I think patience and how we speak and how we communicate is important. You know, being kind. I mean, I think, you know, coming out of the pandemic and what we all went through, you know, I sort of always, you know, kind of live with the mindset that, you know, everybody's got something going on in their life that you don't know about. So kindness is a skill set and a communication factor that, you know, really can be applied towards officiating. And, you know, oftentimes, you know, sometimes officials can be, you know, our own worst enemy in terms of whether we're tearing others down. I think that, you know, we would encourage everybody to build up officials within our group and use kindness as a part of our communication. And then maybe the most important thing is, you know, we often hear silence can't be misquoted. And so oftentimes as a great communicator, you learn that silence is sometimes the best way. But so whether it's a young official, again, coming up, or an experienced official, you know, honing in and working on the skill set, becoming a great communicator often translates into a skill that will get more, you know, additional notice or move your way up through the ranks as an official. So Lee, your comment on communication?
I totally agree. You've actually had, just as a young official, don't get frustrated if you can't build this skill set as quick as you'd like. It takes us a long time to be able to develop a skill set that handles every situation. So yeah, this is definitely a work in process for your career.
So the next skill that we recommend, and, you know, it's by definition, maybe, you know, could stretch out to be a skill, but I would argue that no matter where you are in your officiating career, finding a mentor is an important part of progression. And if nothing else, and I'll go back to the, you know, the bottom comment first, in troubled times potentially, or in very positive times, and I should have put that in you have somebody to bounce off what's happening to you in a particular contest, after a contest, preparing for the season, talking about situations that happened during, you know, a particular contest that you officiated. My personal, in addition to my friend Lee Morgan, who gave me my first Tri-Valley Conference assignment long time ago, my first 3-person game. You know, my mentor and some of the folks on this call might have known him, Stephen Kelly, out of Saginaw, just the greatest guy, you know, in my officiating career in terms of taking me underneath. And Steve did more for my career than I could ever thank him for. And we lost Steve a couple of years ago, but, you know, having a mentor, I can tell you from personal experience, is, you know, again, I would put it into a skill in terms of the skill of knowing that a mentor can help you and would be very beneficial to your career. So Lee, your comment?
Even with a mentor, and Bruce, you and I can share this level now with some of the other veteran officials on this call, even a peer group, you know, someone that you know, has achieved the same success that you have, to bounce ideas off. Just open communication amongst all of us, whether it's a mentor helping a younger official or just a veteran official sharing how they've handled a situation in the past is a valuable learning tool. Need to keep that communication line open amongst all of us, for sure.
And at my screen, I see 90 officials here. For those with experience on this training session today, I would encourage everyone to reach into your association and find a young official and volunteer to be a mentor. Even if it's text messaging, if it's, getting together after a game, just the ability for a young official to have access to a veteran official to talk about what happened. We lose more officials, young officials, because they get frustrated, whether it's from, fan comments or, difficult coaches potentially, or a combination of all the above. And if they have somebody to talk to as a mentor, our ability to retain goes up dramatically. So I encourage everybody to not only seek a mentor, but be a mentor. And again, the last thing, I think that, whatever you learn from your mentor, being able to do that will serve you for your entire career. The next skill set that we feel is important, and it's something that, in our line of work, responding to criticism and how we respond to criticism, can oftentimes make or break our career. And so I would just go through these. So in terms of responding to criticism, we feel like you need to consider the source, right? I think anytime you take up the avocation of officiating, you open yourself up to criticism and where it comes from. You have to consider the source in terms of its credibility and how much weight you're going to put into that potential criticism. And I think there's a fair evaluation from a personal standpoint of considering the accuracy. I mean, if the criticism is about a rule, it could be valid. If the criticism is about judgment, I think we have to balance, the accuracy of where it's coming from. I always have the mindset of taking criticism under advisement, and then, take some time before I decide what I'm going to do. And, typically that's in the world that we live in is communication with, primarily the supervisor who, gave you the assignment, and being able to, hash out what is being said. And then I think, in terms of criticism and the skill set is to take that criticism and turn it into how you can incorporate that constructively, into your vision, into your goals, into how you can get better every time. Because as we know, sometimes that criticism is warranted, and, we have thick skin, we take it constructively, and then we apply it to our officiating tool bag. So we hopefully, don't get into that situation again. And then what I would say, especially for the veteran officials out here who have the opportunity to mentor, we call it the sandwich method, which is, if you're going to provide criticism, bookend it with a compliment, a constructive critique, and then another compliment, kind of sandwich that together. So it might take a little of the sting out of it, is a method that we find works pretty well when we're, having maybe a tough conversation. So I think how you respond to criticism is a skill that's really important. And Lee, I would ask, your comment again on from your view.
If you take criticism as a learning tool and a building block for your career, all it is just something else you can use. Criticism is never meant to hurt you. Criticism is meant to help you. And if the criticism, we want to change the word, we can change it to anything superficial. That doesn't mean it's a mean thing. It's just, this is another tool, something from my position as a supervisor that I need you to improve on to continue to work at this level. And, just take it as that. It's just, we're trying to help you to get better. hands down. That's our whole goal, is to make you a better official.
So then I think the next skill set is we, learn how to have the skill set of responding to criticism, and is then the skill set of self-control. And, really the rewards of having a even keeled temperament, and controlling your temperament, is really something that, me personally, I had a hard time with that early in my career. As Lee could probably tell you some stories, but as you learn to master controlling your temperament and self-control, it is a way to certainly improve your status, especially in the eyes of the supervisors. So, controlling your temperament, the power to overcome contention and strife. Certainly, in many of our officiating experiences, contention and strife are part of the game. And how we handle that, can determine, really the outcome. Certainly, I view that as our job is always to bring the temperature down, not bring the temperature up. And, and that's something that's hard to do sometimes in the moment, but learn to master that skill will be beneficial in your officiating career. I think if you have self-control and learn to control your temperament, you have a better understanding, you have a better view of the situation versus, maybe clouded in anger. I think with self-control, your accomplishments will increase. And I think that as we are evaluated, of course, not only by coaches, but supervisors and certainly the MHSAA staff, I think the officials who have a demonstrated track record of self-control, calmness, bringing the temperature down, earns the respect of, everybody involved, AD, coach, anybody involved in our officiating career. So I think it's an important skill set. We think it's an important skill set to master to, get noticed. Lee, your comment?
Oh, for sure. Contest management, every call, if it's presented the same way, the same emotion, the same appearance, it's exactly what you want. There's not one call any different than any other call. How it looks and its perception. So very much.
So then we sort of tie these together into, the skill sets that we've been talking about is, working on, the definitions of what these skills mean, how you can incorporate them, and really acquiring and putting the time, effort, into really the diligence into understanding each skill set and how it would apply to you and where you are in your officiating career. And then, really understanding what does that mean and how do you discern that, and how do you value the important truths that come out of understanding what each of these skill sets that, you might not have thought about in terms of your officiating career, how that can help you improve your status within your association. And then really the wisdom, the act of applying the valued truths to any given situation and to life in general. And so, as we all know, a lot of the lessons that we learn on the court, field, diamond, etc., translate both into our personal and professional lives. And we hope these skill sets, are more than just about officiating and helping you on through your officiating career, but also, apply to other aspects of your life as well.
I agree.
So, as a summary, we think what we've covered so far are suggestions to get noticed the right way. We hope that you can apply the skills that we've highlighted. We feel like as all these are put together, I think there's one common truth, that supervisors select officials for games based on the confidence they have in us to manage that contest, be a great communicator, take the temperature down, and that's how you improve. As with anything else, hard work, will get you there. And we wish everybody the best of luck. And Brent, at this time, we're happy to, to take questions if there are any.
I'd like to say something to you guys that I just don't want to have glossed over is the term that you used, officiating career. That should not be glossed over. It is a career. It's not just extra income in my pocket, and if you approach it that way, you will be a better official.
Yeah, I agree. Good comment.
Now might be a time, I put it in the chat box, but for those of you who are have a question that you've been wondering, maybe specifically, you can put that in as general terms as possible and ask a association president here. And we also have a supervisor of a conference. And so maybe ask them the questions of ways that that you could improve or advance.
Hey, and Bruce and Lee, another thing too on the criticism, if we all take it as constructive rather than, let's say, detrimental or, take it the wrong way, if we use it as constructive, that'll help build your confidence and help your officiating career along. That's what I have found. And that's what mentors taught me a long time ago. Because like you said, you gotta consider the source, but take it as constructive from any source. And if you can use it and build it into your career, then you've accomplished something.
Oh, I agree. I mean, everything that we talked about tonight, these are all the tools, the building blocks. We take our younger officials and we try to give them a few building blocks so their foundation is strong, so they become better officials. And the career that we talk about or our fishing advocation, everything is just something that someone has shared with us. Like Bruce mentioned with Steve Kelly. Steve was a veteran member of my staff, and I bounced many thoughts off him. And many guys have reached out. Don't be afraid to ask the supervisors. They will give you everything you need to get that best tool available. You may not like what they hear initially, but understand it's in your best interest and their best interest.
I would just make a comment. Sam Davis wrote, critical to seek out a mentor who will give you true and nurturing feedback and help you develop your skills. I agree. I think that, the reality of, officiating is, there's a right, wrong, or indifferent. There's a perception of, a politicalness to it. And, and I know in our association, we're working very hard that to eliminate that from our ranks. Now, I'm not going to be like, rose-colored glasses and tell you that, we're not working on that every single day. But I can tell you this, we've got some great mentors in our association, and it really ties to how we structure our association in terms of our coordinators who own each sport. And I can tell you that to the best of my knowledge, and I know this to be true, that any official can call one of our coordinators and have an open and honest conversation without, any sort of fear of retribution. And I think that that is where the official supervisor relationship has got to go and continue to go in order for us to get better as officials and recruit new officials and create cohesiveness amongst our ranks. And so we work very hard on that. So I agree, Sam, that's really important. There's a question, how much impact do non-coaches, ADs, et cetera, have on the careers of officials? Lee, I would ask, that's a good question for you, man, because of your dual role. Certainly, I would say, you work for the conference, obviously, and you have, direct exposure to ADs. How would you respond to that?
Well, from a conference standpoint, and right now I believe we have 350 odd members doing basketball, almost 800 doing all our sports. The feedback from my coaches is extremely beneficial to me. And most of the time, it doesn't affect an official's career in a negative way. It affects it in a positive way, because we get a glimpse of what the perception the coaches have, the players have, the athletic director has, and then we can help that official by sharing that feedback, telling this is how you're perceived. Is this the message you want to send, or is there just something in your delivery that's being misspoken, misguided, misused? You know, it's just another tool. How do we communicate, and can we improve? But nobody ever stops. You know, I'm not using this guy, or I'm not using that guy, and you can't use this guy. That doesn't work. My staff is built through years of training, and, you know, we give you an opportunity. And with the pandemic last year, we had guys that were given an opportunity to work multiple sports that might not have been, I don't want to use the ready, but it might have been a tall position for them to take. And some just jumped at the chance and ran with it. Others are still going to need a little more grooming. But, you know, we always need officials to continue to get better, whether it's myself at 39 years, Bruce at your age, or a second-year official. Once we stop learning how to be an official and growing, we pretty much should take a look at what we're doing it for.
Yeah, I would say that my experience that, you know, I think ADs had the opportunity to be very influential for officials who they perceive to be doing a great job, right? I think they also have the opportunity to work the other way, you know, depending on, sort of I think the behavior of an official, you know, certainly, you know, how we show up at the school. Are we on time? Did we communicate before the game? Do they have all of our information? You know, did we clean up the locker room when we left? You know, all those little things that, you know, are kind of perception things. And, you know, and then some of that would be, you know, just human nature reaction from my perspective. And so I think that as officials, if we're doing all the little things in terms of how we carry ourselves and how we handle our business, you know, I think, you know, we earn it with the ADs as well. And I like what Claude Little said, don't work to get noticed, do your work and you will be noticed. I agree with that. I mean, I think that translates into ratings and it translates into word of mouth. And I think one of the, you know, things that, and I'd ask, you know, Brent for his feedback too, but one of the things that happened with the pandemic and with, you know, the multitude of games that were, you know, broadcast live through the network, I think supervisors and the MHSAA staff probably saw more officials in the time we worked, and I'm just talking specifically basketball, than probably any time ever. I mean, and just because of the, you know, forced use of video. And so I think to that point, more officials probably got exposure during the 2020 season than ever before, maybe in the history of the MHSAA, which was a positive thing in my mind. Anybody else have anything that you would like to add?
Yes, my name is James Armeligus, and I am very, very new to this association. I've been working recently with Dan Westfield out of Macomb County, and I've got about 10, 12 games under my belt, and I am still looking for a mentor. Dan has helped me greatly, but I'm signed up through the Detroit Officials Association with, I know his last name's Ford, Darren Ford. And we've communicated a couple times through emails, but I am very, very raw. I have very low esteem in my officiating abilities. I retired in April and then registered with the Michigan High School Athletic Association, and then Dan recruited me to do some games in Macomb County. And I've messed up a lot of times, but I'm still very low in my confidence, and I'm looking to get a mentor and somebody, especially through Michigan High School Association, to get some training, some on-site training, since the pandemic has somewhat finished. So I thank you for this time.
Yeah, thank you for thank you for joining, and I would say keep working at it. Seek out training, seek out that mentor. Other comments from officials on here, but I think maybe a lot of people would echo. There's a lot of summer basketball, I think, probably still happening. I would get on that. I would get on the court as much as you can. The more you officiate, the more you blow the whistle, the more confidence you'll get. So just work every single chance you get would be my number one advice for sure. And then find a camp, right? Find a camp that, is working, teaching camp, working 2-person mechanics, and that'll go a long way to help your confidence as well. Here's a person. I'm a person that likes feedback. This is my second year. Can we see the improvement categories and all the feedback in our portal on the MHSAA site?
I'll grab this one, Bruce.
Okay.
So it's kind of timely that you mentioned this, Justin. You joined us at a time when we are and have overhauled our rating system. So this year will be the first year for a new rating system altogether. The more that I've looked at it, the less it looks like the previous system. We kind of were just trying to do an extension and fix some things. But the more that I look at it, it really has become just an overhaul. And so there's 2 points to this. One, it does provide a way where we can get more feedback from schools for officials that will tell them the areas that are looked at as deficiencies and areas that they can improve. But also, I say that and emphasize the overhaul part, because when you get your ratings for those officials who've been around a while, they are going to look completely different than they have in the past. And so I don't want you to be alarmed by that. I want you to just kind of go through the motions and let's run this one out over a couple of years here and get your ratings to where they'll be. So it is not on the same scale even. And schools aren't even rating you on numbers system anymore. So the idea of giving you a 3 or giving you a 4 or a 1 that's all gone by the wayside. You will see those scores on the back end, but the schools will not be rating according to a score. They'll be rating according to a category. They also rate you in 4 different categories. And so you'll actually be able to see the areas where you need improvement in most. So in the past, it was you got a rating for a single contest. That contest rating, while there were a couple of descriptors that they could give you, you didn't know really where you were deficient. And this is for coaches and schools as well, where they've said, this has been talked about quite a bit in today's meeting. This person might be an excellent official judgment-wise. But they've got a chip on their shoulder. They're not very professional. And the only way to critique them is to give them a low rating. This was what the coach's feedback was. And so they would give you a low rating based on your professionalism when they thought you knocked it out of the park as far as judgment and your skills. What this system allows them to do is rate those categories separately, which will give you an overall contest rating. But at the end of the year, you'll be able to say, oh, some folks think that I need to improve my professionalism, but they think that my skills are pretty good. And so we hope that that breaks that down a little bit better for everybody. It's not going to be enough for some folks, and it's going to be too much for others. I already know that's going to be the case. But that we think this is a good middle ground that provides you better feedback, more specificity, but does not give them just carte blanche to be able to write, 6 paragraphs on why they think that you should never work another game in your career. And so we're balancing those as best as we can. So Justin, I can tell you that, and James, who spoke before, you don't have a lot of experience at that or with ratings, but I can tell you that you are going to be just as new to the rating system as everybody else on this call.
Can I say something for the new guys out here, like James, what you said? It may take several seasons for everything to click. Don't be discouraged. You have to continue doing what you're doing. You could be here 20 years. You're still learning. We can be here, you're always going to learn. When you give up learning, you might as well quit, because we need people that are always going to be on top of it. So don't worry about those first few years. At one point, you will, all of a sudden, it will click and you will know. So keep going.
Yep. I agree. I mean, I think that's tied to our presentation in terms of vision, writing down goals, and, and then, again, having the diligence to follow through. And, to your point, set a goal to be in the rule book, I don't know, once a week, right? For a chapter at a time. I mean, and you'd be surprised, the discipline to like really stick to that is hard to do. And I think though the officials who really have that discipline to follow up on their goals, have a better chance of success. That's for sure.
So I'm Sarah, and I'm probably about on my 3rd year going into officiating for basketball. So with 2020 being a year where a lot of newer officials kind of got pulled up to the varsity level, probably earlier than what would have been normal, per se, previous to 2020. What should we expect going into 2021 school year? Like, are we still going to be at that level, or will they kind of bump us back down?
Can I take this one?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I can tell you from my perspective, because that's a question that was brought to me many times in the end of the season. I use a stable of 12 observers that I send to specific places to take a look at what you would consider, Sarah, as a newer official working a level that they might not be really ready for. The ones that knocked it out of the park, showed me tremendous potential, showed my training staff that they've got what it takes, are going to continue to receive games. Others that might need an occasional building block or two, or they might need to spend a little bit more time in the mechanics manual or in the video chat room to understand some things. They'll probably take a step back, in your words. I don't like taking it as a step back. I just think that they might need a little bit more grooming before I, as an assigner and a supervisor, can put them in a situation that they can succeed. Because I will never put an official in a situation, if I can help it, that they can't be successful. That just doesn't do anything to help us attain all the officials that we need to build on. So, but I understand your question, Sarah. And, if you do have an assigner that does that, ask the question, where am I at? Where am I going to be? What can I do to continue to work that level? They'll be upfront and honest with you.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, my comment would be, as a part of the skill set that we talked about, Sarah, that falls into the communication, right? Is, I think a lot of officials, if you're gonna ask the question, how am I doing? Where am I? You have to be prepared for the answer, right? And I'm just hopeful, and I know that the supervisor of officials and the assigners across our great state recognize the potential in young officials, and again, sort of, give you the honest feedback. But if you feel like you're ready, I would encourage you to even take it a step and find some film that you worked this year and review it with your supervisor. And, because nothing's better than film in terms of, how you work. And, and that film might, prove that, you have the ability to stay, at the level that you were working, in the 2020 season. So communicate your goals, find some film of yourself, and review it with your supervisor. And, I think then you show that person that you're interested in staying at that level, and, and you're confident that you can be there.
Thank you, guys.
Sure. There's a question about how's recruitment and retention patterns going. And Brent, I guess I would toss that to you.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell at this point for this year. I can tell you that last year was disheartening, but I think we all understand that a lot of that was a result of the situation we were in with COVID. I can tell you that it improved. We were down nearly 30% at one point during the year, partway through or heading into our winter season. As it became a little more sure that we were going to be playing our winter season, and then into our spring, those numbers improved, and we ended up about 14% down overall from the previous year, which is a significant drop. Generally, our pattern had been 2 to 5% dropping. Still a steady decline over the previous decade. So a 14% drop was significant. We hope that we're able to pull some new folks in, and we hope that we can get some of those folks back that decide to take the year off, understandably so. But that will yet to be determined.
Any other questions, comments? Well, Lee and I certainly appreciate the opportunity to give everybody on the call, and certainly when the presentation is up on the Officiate Michigan Day site, we hope that everybody took one or two things that you can apply to your officiating career, and we hope that we were helpful tonight. Thanks, Brent, for the opportunity.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all for being here. This will be recorded and posted on the on Officiate Michigan Day on July 31st. Take care. Have a good night.
Good night.
Nice job, Bruce. Nice job, Lee.
Thank you. Good luck.